What is up, people? Aloha snack bar to all of you out there. It is another edition of the Tuesday Trading Terrordome with none other than the Dex, the AlgoCapitalist, and I, the majestic silverback, who is in the shadows of the Econo Mist. With that being said, we got a litany of things to cover today. Dex is going to break it down, and we're just going to be freestyling. So Dex is going to be doing most of the talking. I'll be chiming in here and there. And guys, also follow Dex on his website and on his channel, which he'll be plugging at the end of the broadcast. You can check us out at roguemoney.net. Follow us on Twitter at the Rogue Money and the Rogue Money Facebook. Also, if you know somebody who's in debt, who needs help with getting out of debt or any sort of credit trouble, or you just need a better credit score, you can get a brand new house or get your house refinanced. Check out my guys over at myfreedomnow.us, myfreedomnow.us. Check them out. They can help improve your score and your life. Hit the reset button on your financial credit worthiness. With that being said, Dex, what's up, buddy? How are you?
I'm hanging in there, man. Good to be here. Good to be here.
Absolutely, bro. Where do you want to begin, my man? Let's see how the show goes.
Okay, well, for the first time ever in the Guerrilla Economist history, I actually have jotted down a few talking points.
No.
I know, right?
Whoa. It's like Invasion of the Body Snatchers. I gotta make sure it's you.
Actually, I didn't want to forget to cover some things. All right, for the most part, I'm hanging in there, man. I've been busy as a bee. When we're done, I have a gold webinar that I need to do over at the postwavetrading.com site. So I'm excited about that. But one thing we need to talk about, man, I want to start the show off talking about social engineering with the markets. We all are hip to social engineering. You have the smartest followers in the world, so they know what time it is. But we need to deal with this. This social engineering is taking a new turn. And I'm trying to digest it and see what to make of it. But I don't really hear too many people talking about it, and I think that's odd. First of all, it was exposed that George Soros was backing the Black Lives Matter. He gave them millions of dollars. Well, I think the machine is much more vast than that. I believe that a lot of money has been funneling down throughout the entire DNC. I believe that the organism that was behind the Hillary Clinton campaign is very much so associated with and connected to the Black Lives Matter movement. Is it not odd or strange that when she lost the election and had a tantrum, that the entire organism, the system behind her, followed suit and started attacking anything and everyone associated with and connected to Donald Trump? And it was almost like clockwork. Now, he just got sworn in, okay? He had just got sworn in. So he's been in the office, what, a day? Yeah. And already we have sophisticated, and I want to key in on the word sophisticated, marches against his presidency, which hasn't even started yet.
Right.
Not only do you have sophisticated marches, but you have speeches that are well written and well prepared, which means that this was done well in advance. You cannot put together this type of a movement on the fly. It has to be well organized. Right. There's entertainment. There's different speakers. There are celebrities involved, and we'll touch on them in a moment. But it's too many people involved. There's too many moving parts for this to be an organic uprising of the people.
Right.
What am I saying? I am suggesting that the entire movement that you are seeing against the president is fake. I believe it is part of the social engineering paradigm to change and mold the minds of the American people to think and go against the presidency.
Yeah, I agree with
that. It's a way
that.
to undermine.
It's psychological operation.
Exactly.
PSYOP.
Now, I'm going to show you how we have proof that there is dissension in the ranks. Anyone who is a celebrity, who is in the entertainment genre, whether it be music or whether they be an actor, has to toe the line and speak out against Donald Trump. If you go against that and you don't toe the line, you are immediately, and might I add, publicly ostracized. Look what happened to Stacey Dash.
Yeah.
She spoke out in favor of the president, and she lost her job on Fox.
Wow.
Not only her, but several others will come out in support of the president, or if they performed during the inauguration celebration for the president, they have now been ostracized. So you have to ask yourself a question. Why is this happening? Furthermore, notice how he hasn't even been in the White House 5 minutes yet, and already people are speaking out against his foreign policy.
Yeah.
What foreign policy?
Right. He hasn't even put one out yet.
He hasn't done anything yet. He's talked about foreign policy, but he hasn't enacted anything yet. We all know that politicians say a lot of things. And to be quite honest with you, I'm just keeping it real. Barack Obama said a lot bolder things during his campaign than Trump ever did. Right. To be perfectly honest with you, Obama sounded more of a what's that word I'm looking for? Help me out here. My mind is stuck. Ron Paul. What party is that?
More libertarian.
Yes. Obama sounded like a straight up libertarian.
Yeah, when he was initially running, he was talking about getting us out of foreign interventions, the whole 9 yards.
Yes. And then what did he say? He said transparent government.
Yeah, transparent government.
All that stuff. And now, what do we see? Trump saying pretty much the similar things that we want to hear, that the average thinking person is for, smaller government, less taxes, all that good stuff. But saying something and doing something is two separate things. We have to see him do the things that he said he was going to do now. All the things you said, now you're going to be tested and tried on it. Let me see if you about that life. Just like in the streets. Let me see if you about that life. I saw you posing with the Uzi on the cover of your album and in your music videos. But now you here in the hood with us. Let me see if you really about that life. Right. And that's what's going on now with the president. He's in the office. So now we're going to give him time to see if he really about that life. All right. So I don't understand how we're talking about impeachment. I know already, right? When he hasn't even been in office a week. Yeah, they're already forming. It was some jerkwad congressman and working with a Democratic think tank is trying to put together some bills to impeach Trump. He didn't even get started. They're talking about impeachment. Like, what the hell? I'll tell you what I heard on the radio. I heard that they want to impeach him because he exposed Hillary's illness. What? And they want to say that he made fun of her illness Therefore, it should be investigated to see if he truly made fun of her, and if he did, then he needs to be impeached.
Made fun of her illness.
Yes. Now,
wow.
I can understand
that
if
is
we're
some social justice
corruption.
nonsense.
It's not even justice.
It's just
it's foolishness. It's ridiculousness. Because let's think about it this way. You have America. We're still America. We still have a Constitution and a Bill of Rights, which means that we still have free speech, correct? Yeah. So, yes, it has limitations. I can't yell fire in a crowded movie theater, blah, 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 okay?
Or I can't get on an airplane and count down from 10 in Arabic while shouting Aloha snack bar. That's not good either.
Yeah, that's not a good idea either.
Like certain YouTubers, but anyway.
But you do have free speech, and you should be able to say, you know, how you feel, you know, of course, with some type of filter. You don't just want to be, you know, ridiculous, but you should be able to say what your opinions are. We all have opinions and thoughts and ideas. It's supposed to be the marketplace of ideas where we all come together and share what we believe and why we believe it, and there's nothing wrong with that. Yep. And we do it with dignity and respect. But that's not what's happening. We have Madonna talking about blowing up the White House. If you or I said that in a public forum, the feds would be at our front door before we even got off the air or off the stage or whatever platform it was. She gets to say it and everything's okay. It's funny. People are cheering.
Well, she's being investigated right now by the Secret Service.
She should have been arrested immediately by the Secret Service.
Arrested for sedition and inciting a riot.
Yeah, because I thought that it was against the law to threaten the president directly or indirectly. I also thought it was against the law, excuse me, to basically show that you're on the side of Al Qaeda.
Yeah,
that makes you an enemy combatant.
Women, did you see all the pictures of those American women wearing like American flag hijabs? Like, what is up with that, bro?
Well, first of all, it was offensive to the Eastern community. I took offense to it.
Yeah.
Because they don't understand the culture and why our women cover themselves. So that showed their ignorance, and it showed that they didn't care about culture outside of their own non-cult culture. Mm-hmm. In addition to that, we also saw a situation where they're cramming their belief systems down our throat. The majority of the people that were speaking out, speaking of the female variety, they were all known members of the LGBT community.
Correct.
Okay.
Right.
Why are you pushing your belief systems down my throat? I thought you were against anyone trying to push anything on you. Isn't that the whole reason for their organization coming out militantly like it has? They said they're against organized religion and all this other stuff. They don't want anything being thrown down their throats. So why are they pushing this agenda down our throats? So again, they're not tolerant. This is an organization of intolerance. They're intolerant of any idea separate from their idea.
Yeah.
So it's really not about tolerance. It's about you tolerating them, and that's it.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
I think it's ridiculous, and this is all part of social engineering.
Did you see the confirmation hearing of General James Mattis?
I missed that one.
Dude, I saw it, and it was hilarious in the sense that you had this idiotic senator from New York, this woman, I don't even know what the hell her name is, but this reject of a woman why is she even in the hearing and asking questions is beyond me. Her questions predominantly centered around, so do you think that women should be in frontline combat? And, Mattis is smart. He gave like glib but nondescript political answers.
Right.
But I'm watching this woman speak. She was obsessed with, why can't women be in combat? Because they're not fit to be in combat, period. Because they don't have the upper body strength to be in combat, period. in respect to the social engineering, this whole nonsense. Like, I mean, even taking it back. And look, I'm an MMA guy, but taking it back to this whole BS of, oh, Ronda Rousey, she's the greatest fighter. She could fight Floyd Mayweather. Are you crazy?
Wow.
Are you? I mean, this is how ridiculous, because they were pushing that agenda that a woman is just as good as a man, and they are, but not in a physical sense. I mean, come on, get real. You know what? You don't want women in frontline combat. It's ridiculous. There's all sorts of physiological and biochemical reasons as to why. Then her next question, Dax, was, well, what do you feel about gays and being openly gay in the military? And of course, Matt has had a glib, nondescript political answer. Then she asked, well, what about the LGBTQ community? Like, what the hell do you want these guys to do? You want our Navy SEALs to have a bunch of women and LGBTQ and the 76 other self-identifying genders to jump out of airplanes wearing like rainbow-colored pink camo uniform and descending on the battlefield with high heels, trying to strike fear to the enemy? I mean, come on, just leave the military alone. But you're right. There's something about the far left. They're obsessed with it. I don't know what it is. I'm like, do you people not have sex? I mean, is that what it is? They're obsessed with it, bro.
Well, it's more than that. It's pushing an agenda. See, they want to take over, and that's what it's really about. They want to re-engineer society totally. See, if you question their motives, if you question their belief systems, they will say that you are a bigot, that you're homophobic. But first of all, let's keep it real, because I know they're gonna attack this particular program because we dare question them. All right, first of all, I have extended family members who are part of the LGBT community, okay? So let's not get it twisted. I don't know anyone who cannot name at least one family member that is a part of that organization. It is what it is. Yes, I've had friends that were part of that community as well. And to be quite honest with you, I'd rather hang out with some of them than some straight people, because some of them are some of the sweetest, most kindest, caring people on the planet.
True story.
But not about that. So I'm keeping it real with you. What I do not agree with is the lifestyle, because it's unnatural. Some of them don't agree with my lifestyle. But that's not the point. The point is, I got love for them because they got love for me. I got love for anybody that got love for me. It doesn't mean that we have to agree. You feel me?
Yep.
But I'm not going to bite my tongue around you, because as far as I'm concerned, it's a lifestyle choice. You've made a choice, and that's fine. I believe what grown people do behind the closed doors of their own bedroom, two consenting adults. Notice how I said two consenting adults, not adults and children, consenting adults. Right. That's their business. I don't believe the government has any business in people's bedrooms. Where they're two consenting adults, whether they're paying money to each other for the service or whatever. I don't believe government has any place in two consenting adults' bedrooms. That's just me. That's just how I feel. So keeping it moving, we have a situation where they have taken over because they lost. So they're taking over the airways. They're taking over the places that they control to continue to push their agenda. Now, like I said, I believe this is all made up. I believe it was done in advance. All this was prepared. This is theater for your doing, for your consumption. Why they're doing it is because they lost. But that's not the only reason why they're doing it. They're still pushing forward the agenda. It didn't matter who got in the White House. This agenda would still be moving forward. Now, let's look at some of the things that they're accusing our newly anointed president of. They're accusing him, the number one reason why they say that they are against Donald Trump, or should I say Mr. President Trump, is because they say that he hates women. They call him a womanizer and whatever else. Okay, then they call him a racist too. We'll deal with the racist part second. Let's deal with the womanizer or whatever hater first. First of all, we know he's not a woman hater. He does not hate women. See, when you put different titles on things, you have to be careful because these titles have meaning. When we say woman hater, that's generally reserved for rapists and men who rape, murder, and kill women. All right? They hate women. They have a problem with women. Okay? There's a difference. Donald Trump is more so, I would call, a pimp. All right? He's a pimp. Okay? Now, when Snoop Dogg says, when he talks, he says, regarding those hoes, we don't love them, no. He's famous and people love him for it.
Right.
All right. We parade Don Magic Juan around like he is an icon of social status. All right. And they love him. And what is he? A retired pimp, a famous retired pimp.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we love the pimp in the hood.
Right.
But now that you got him in the White House, they got a problem with him. So that in and of itself is hypocritical. You can't celebrate the pimp, and then when you get him in the White House, now you got a problem with him. So that is fake and ridiculous in and of itself. That's number one. Number two, we know that him being a pimp, the way he is, being over all the beauty pageants and marrying supermodels and things of that nature. Yeah, they heard him say, grab a woman in the crotch. Yeah, they heard him say these things. Well, first of all, let's not get this twisted. Yeah, he came off a little brute, and crazy, whatever. But we've all said and done things at parties and things of that nature, not knowing that you were being recorded. Can you imagine if they recorded some of the things that we all say when we're drunk or high or partying or whatever, or just being loose? We all say some wild things. Even if he believes it, it doesn't matter. I'm not taking up on defending what he said. What I am saying is that other people have said worse things and we celebrate them.
Correct.
Okay. So
what about Jay-Z singing about 99 problems and hoes and bitches on Hillary Clinton's campaign trail? What about that?
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's okay when he say it. Yeah. But it's not okay that Donald Trump said it. No, say, well, he's the leader of the free world. He wasn't when he said it. Exactly. He wasn't the leader of the free world.
That was 11 years ago, man. 11 years ago.
Okay, see what I'm saying? So they're trying to muster up things that don't exist. Now let's move over to the racist part. They want to call the man a racist. Oh, by the way, I'm sorry. What you need to do real quick, because I forget stuff. So I'm going to give you guys something. So where is it here? Hold on. Okay. Okay, here it is. Okay. On YouTube, go ahead and type in this, you guys. The myth about Trump not supporting females. I think he said it a lot better than I can. That's what it, so type that in and you'll check that video out. He breaks down the facts, very things that are not known about Trump, but he breaks it down and shows you, again, shows the ignorance of people, how they don't do their homework, how he actually has supported women. Mm-hmm. And it will blow you away because you can't say that other people have done this. So I'm done with the him against women thing. We've already broke that down, and I just hit you off with the video link so you can go peep that and see for yourself. All right, now as far as him being a racist, let's kill this one real quick. Excuse me. Okay. Do we have a problem with race in this country? Yes. We always have since its inception. But that's not the issue. They're accusing him basically of being the grand dragon of the Ku Klux Klan in the White House. Now, let's break down the truth of it and the reality of this. Even if he was, like, for real, like you showed a picture of him in full costume, standing next to a cross on fire, Okay, fine. That's his belief system. Remember, this is the United States of America, where there's what? Freedom of what? Religion.
Right.
He has a right to his religion. As long as he doesn't bring that into public policy, we good to go. As long as he does not bring that into his foreign policy, we're good to go. As long as he doesn't bring it into economic policy, we are good to go. He can believe whatever he wants. Look at it this way: we've had a Muslim in the White House. We've had a Roman Catholic in the White House. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Okay? So let's just keep that twisted. We don't have to go no further than that because we have freedom of religion in this country. Now, the truth of the matter is there is no proof or evidence that Trump is a Klan member or a racist or a bigot. The reason why we know this is because he has done business with all walks of life. I don't care if you can find me a tape recording of him saying, the N-word and all this other stuff. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
There is numerous documented cases of him doing business with all nationalities.
Correct. And hiring all nationalities and helping all nationalities.
He employs what, 30-some thousand people?
Yep.
Many of which are the African American variety.
Yep.
So you can keep all of that about him.
Did you see the YouTube video of this woman? She's an African American woman. She's homeless.
Mm-hmm.
She made a video. If you grow up in New York, you kind of hear about the philanthropy of Trump. He always does things on the low. He never really advertises it. This is another example. And there's many like this. And this is why this guy does the stuff. He doesn't do it for publicity. There's this woman, she put up a YouTube video. She was crying in the video. And she's an African-American woman. She was begging people to stop calling Trump a racist. He's not a racist. I was homeless for many years. Donald took me in. I now currently live in one of the Trump hotels. He's paid for my room and my food and my board. I've been here for 2 years. I've been asking him, hey, let me pay you back. He says, don't worry about it. When you get back on your feet, you will worry about it then. He's been taking care of me. And he helps so many people that's just like me. Please stop calling him a racist. That's Donald. That's the kind of stuff he knows. Yeah. That's the kind of stuff he does.
Let's not get it twisted though. See, here's my thing.
Yeah.
Even if he did all that, that still doesn't prove that he's not a racist.
Right.
You could be a racist and still do things and do good deeds. That's my point.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter what his personal beliefs is as long as it does not affect him doing his
public
job.
Policy. Exactly.
And following the Bill of Rights and the Constitution.
Correct. I agree with that.
All right. That's what matters the most. All that other stuff is foolishness, is smoke and mirrors, and it's setting up a straw man. That's all you're doing. Because you can bring that to anyone. You can say, okay, everyone who's accusing him of being a racist is also a racist. Now it's up to you to prove that you're not a racist. That's ridiculous. You really can't prove that per se. Because you can do outward things. It doesn't mean that the inward heart has changed. I'm just saying. And I'm speaking on personal experience. I've had people do good things for me and to me, and then later found out that they actually hated my guts. Yes, hated my guts. Tore me up mentally. I'm like, I don't understand. This person just did such and such. How? What do you mean they hate my guts? They hate your guts. And then I've had people come to me and tell me that they hate my guts after they've done something nice for me. Can't stand me. Yes. So I don't want to hear it. You can't prove that. And it doesn't matter what's up. All right. So I'm done with that one. Let's move on further. All right. Someone typed in the chat room that the president already brought his religious beliefs into the foreign policy on day one because he disallowed funding to Mexico if abortions are being performed. Okay, that's not necessarily a religious thing. Some people believe that the life in the womb is sacred and it doesn't have anything to do with religion. They just believe that life begins at the moment of conception. And so therefore it is a human being in the womb, and that human being has rights, and we shouldn't murder the individual just based solely on the origins of his conception. All right, so that's not necessarily a religious thing. Okay, moving on. Another. All right, hey, Brandy, have a wonderful day. Thank you. You're one of our faithful folk, and we love you. Thank you. Let's see what else we got here. Oh yeah, the economy is the elephant in the room, isn't it? Look, here's the thing with the economy, man. We said this before, right? I do not understand how we're going to pay for a lot of the stuff. But that doesn't have to do with the president. That's just period, regardless who's in the office. It's hard, it's tough to say, okay, we're going to do this and that. But then how are you going to pay for it? I'll tell you what I haven't heard so far, and I haven't seen a video on YouTube about this either. This morning on CNBC, they showed certain individuals walking in and out of the White House meeting with the president.
Yeah.
Do you know who these individuals were? The auto industry.
Oh, yes.
Does that not ring a bell to people?
Absolutely.
The last time we saw this, we had a different president in office, and this was during his first term, during his first 100 days, remember? And they all arrived in private jets and driving other cars instead of the cars that they supposedly built. Yeah, someone just posted this. Yeah, thank you for that reminder. Yep, killing the TPP was a major deal. That was a major joint.
That was.
Now, I'm not. I put stuff out.
He just re-signed the pipeline deal that we haven't renegotiated.
I don't know all about that, to be honest with you. I haven't done my due diligence on the TPP. So
now with TPP,
I'll let you talk and explain that to me, because I'm not on that. So explain to
TPP?
me what's that about.
Well, the audience will be very familiar with this. I mean, I've talked about it a billion one times. What TPP is this? It is an idiotic Western globalist counter to China's New Silk Road. The 13 countries signed on to it, mostly because of the corporations that were in those countries. And it would give corporations full rights to do whatever the hell they want without any sort of recourse from products that have gone wrong, drugs that have had side effects. Mm-hmm. It also prevented. It also allowed these corporations to basically act without any sort of limitations on many of the countries they'll be operating in, allowing them to grab resources, this, that, and the other.
Okay.
Now that is in sharp contrast to what China and Russia is offering the world, which is mutually beneficial, real, free, and fair trade. Mm-hmm. So the TPP, which I would call the toilet paper protocols, it was an absolute garbage trade deal written by idiots. Mm-hmm. And any trade deal that doesn't include China is dead on arrival. That's the most stupidest thing in the world. That's why the Chinese looked at it the Chinese were like, this is crazy. Why would anybody want to sign up to this? And thank God that TPP is dead. So
in a nutshell, how does that affect me, the little guy? But why do I care?
You would lose more of your rights and your liberties as a consumer. It'd eliminate competition. There's going to be more regulations on the smaller business owner where you cannot compete. Because all of a sudden, let's say you created something like something amazing, like you created something, whatever product that's never been done before. All of a sudden, some idiot corporation could come in and sue you, shut you down, ruin your life, saying, "Oh, you stole intellectual property," because they have this dead patent that's been sitting there for years, and they haven't done anything with it, and it loosely resembles a concept that you have brought to fruition, and then they could go after you and ruin your life. That's one way they can screw you up. Another way is increase taxes and regulations. Another way is all of a sudden, let's just say, you can't sue a drug company right now if your child has a reaction to a vaccine. Now imagine if you were to take a medication. Now they want to make it where any medication is doled out by any pharmaceutical company will have zero repercussions. You can never sue them. So that way they can fast track all the drugs without any proper testing, which reduces quote unquote R&D costs and increases the profit margins to the utmost. These are just the tip of the iceberg of the several ways of their of how they'll screw us up.
So basically, it is a pro-monopoly bill, is what it sounded like to me.
Absolutely, and here's the funny thing: corporations can sue countries.
Okay.
For instance, a corporation in, let's say, in Honduras can say Dex the AlgoCapitalist, he did something to us, we don't like it, he's copying our product, whatever. They can go ahead and sue you and take you to court. I mean, it's asinine.
Yeah, it is. I'm glad he killed that then. So the other issue then is,
but Hillary Clinton called it the gold standard.
Wow. Yeah, because they were going to get some kind of kickbacks from it. See, to them, everything is dope. Every bill they put together is straight up dope in their eyes if they can get kickbacks from it some kind of way. And that's not good business. Good business is where both parties get what they want. Yeah. That's a good deal. You should never do business deals where both parties don't win. Both parties don't get what they want. And I think that's what they were doing, is screwing the American people, which is terrible. So I'm glad that's gone. So now the next question, though, is, see, it's good to cut back pork and things of that nature.
I love pork.
But on the other side of things, what is he going to do to affect the things that affect us as far as how we pay for things? Like, is he going to get rid of this Obama bill thing, this Obamacare?
Yeah, he's repealing it. He's already signed that. That's what
he said he was going to do it, but is he going to do it?
He signed it, bro. He signed the executive order to start the process of dismantling it.
Oh boy, are you serious?
Yeah, man. It's done with, bro.
Hold on one quick second.
Yeah, he started the most important aspect of it, which is repealing the mandate. That's where you begin, and now that right there eases the burden. That's step number one. Now you start rolling it back. The only thing he wants to keep in Obamacare is, I think, the pre-existing condition one. That's about it. Dex? Oh, okay. Well, Dex is doing his thing, and since we're still alive, I was busy answering your tweet, so I apologize. So yeah, basically, it is MAGA is in full effect. MAGA 2017. You're
okay. I'm back.
Oh, you're back. Look at that.
Good.
Yeah. So he started off with that, bro.
Now, did he say this is going to be a situation where it falls off over years, or is it going to pretty much like in 2018?
He wants to do it as rapidly as possible and as quickly as possible. The only things he wants to keep from Obamacare is basically the pre-existing conditions thing, where if you have a pre-existing condition, you cannot be denied for insurance, and then the kids thing, where insures children up to 26 years of age, because oftentimes, especially in this economy, a lot of people are going back to school and they're having to move in with their parents and they're losing insurance. So at least it keeps them covered for a little bit. And those are the only two things. Everything else is getting repealed. It's going to do it as quickly as possible.
Okay. That's pretty fly. I can't lie. That's pretty fly.
Absolutely savage.
So somebody got me in the live chat. That's funny. No, I'm not leaving my beliefs about selected presidents. It's just good when they can do something worthwhile. When they need to, put it that way. Yeah. I'll take whatever I can get. I'm just glad they're not, dropping bombs out the sky on us just yet. You know what I mean? That's how I look at it. Enjoy every day that we got. So then my next question is this then. Okay. What is he going to do with the whole central banking situation? And what is he going to do with the Fed?
He's going to audit the Fed. It's one of his highlights of his administration. He's getting the team together.
Okay, what does that mean? Let me pause you for a second.
Yeah.
What does that mean? because audit the Fed sounds very generic. I want to know when he says audit the Fed.
Well,
Wait,
here's the thing: auditing the Fed in the same vein that Ron Paul wanted to audit the Fed. Audit it to end it.
Okay.
Audit it to end it. That's the direction he wants to be taken. Audit it to end it.
Okay, so then if he does that, that means he has to go to Fort Knox as well.
Yeah.
He has to do that.
Yeah, which means there's no gold there.
You know what I mean?
Which means the American public finds out what the hell just happened.
Yeah, but see, all right. See, now I'm a little concerned then, because if he really means to do that, let's say he really wants to do that, like he's really serious, like for real.
No, he's for real.
That means he's going against the powers that be.
The powers that be are right now taking a major blow.
Okay? Yeah, but that's dangerous for him, man.
No, there is a faction that is protecting him. That is with all the intel, the best juicy bits I can get from some very credible sources. There's a faction that's protecting him. There's a faction that got him this far, and they're ensuring survivability. The cabal. What you got to do is, if you get a chance, go back and listen to my interviews with London Paul. London Paul is one of the most connected individuals in the world when it comes to international finance. Mm-hmm. He's been calling about a Trump presidency for like, I don't know, a year and a half ago.
Okay.
He was saying that Trump was going to win this, that, and the other. And he's somebody who's very familiar with the cabal. And he's a source. He's a source to a lot of the other, guys who are quoting things. London Paul is the source material. And so for me to have London Paul on, go back and listen to it. And then go back and listen to what Harley Schlanger says. Harley Schlanger is right now currently in Europe. And these are guys who are connected to the actual the actual levers of power. Okay? There is an absolute fracturing. Yeah, there's evil, there's bad guys, but there's also good guys. Trump belongs to that good guy network. Notice on Inauguration Day, bro, he didn't put his hand on the typical Bible that they've always used for every president. That is an occultic Masonic Bible. He did not put his hand on it. He had his own Bible brought, and he put his hand on that Bible to swear in. Did you notice that? Pence did the same thing.
Nope, I did not.
Yep, Pence did the same thing. That is a symbol. That is a symbol saying, I'm not part of the system. I'm not owing my allegiance to that. I caught that. A bunch of other people also caught that as well. This is true. There's a power shift that's happening, bro.
All right, here's my thing, man. This is where I'm at with it. I miss nothing. All right, I miss nothing. Here's what I'm seeing. Either one or two things is going down right now, and either the powers that be have become way more sophisticated, and they're like 100 steps ahead of us, or our current president really did penetrate the bureaucracy.
Yeah, it's not
some
just
kind of way. I'm trying to understand though.
No. If you think the focus is Trump and Trump penetrated the bureaucracy, you're missing the whole thing, bro. This didn't start with Trump. You know who started this whole thing?
Who started this?
You know who really accelerated this whole thing?
Who's that?
Vladimir Putin.
Explain.
When Vlad came to power, right? Mm-hmm. They chose Vlad. Who chose Vlad? Well, the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds, and their oligarchs who controlled Russia right after the fall of the Soviet Union, who was chopping up Russia piecemeal. Because look, the Bolshevik Revolution was a Rockefeller and Rothschild funded operation. Okay, that's a known fact. So when they chose Putin, the lowly, shy little KGB colonel who was to replace the drunkard Boris Yeltsin, mm-hmm. They picked him because they thought he wasn't going to be a problem. They picked him because they thought he was just going to be a yes man and take orders. They had no idea that this guy was a patriot at heart. They had no idea that he was working within a network of individuals that are all Russophiles. And one of the things that Russians have never forgotten, they've never forgotten nor forgave, and London Paul Bix also talks about this as well, they never forgave the Rothschilds for what they've done.
Right.
So when Putin came to power, what is the first thing he did? He went right after the oligarchs. He froze their assets. He jailed them. He killed them. He threw a couple of them out of the country. What did he do with the Rockefellers and Rothschilds? Every single one of those entities, he kicked them out. He took Russia's GDP at that time was, I think it was about 150 billion. Mm-hmm. Took it from 150 billion and made it into a $2.3 trillion economy. He took the national debt, which was 86% of GDP, and brought it down to 7% of GDP. Mm-hmm. He took the Russian pension, which was around 150 rubles a month, and he made it 10 to 15,000 rubles a month. I mean, this guy made rapid changes. That's where it began. And then we've had some individuals who are Rothschild bankers all of a sudden start winding up dead. One of them was hung in Iran, caught in Iran and hung there because of Spetsnaz. Mm-hmm. Then you see him move against the globalists. See, the whole globalist, this centers around Western civilization. This centers predominantly around Europe and America and all the Commonwealth countries. That's where this globalism springs forth from. What Putin has done, and even what China's done, is incredible. They have created an Eastern bloc towards it. Okay, now that's a huge reality. So that was the spur for nationalism to spark up everywhere, and that's where you're seeing the fires of nationalism. Now the problem became the U.S. How are they going to deal with the U.S.? Well, there's been a group of patriots, like some call them the Sons of Liberty, who have been working for decades from the inside of the system to get their guys in place. And Trump, again, the whole system never expected this guy to win. They thought it was a joke. They never took it seriously. There's no way he could penetrate the bureaucracy. There's no way he could penetrate the levers of control. Now, they're absolutely, from all the reports from here, from guys who've served in intelligence, guys like W and whatnot, their word is, their own words, and I quote, and forgive my language, they said they are shitting themselves. They've underestimated this. And it's more than just an act of man. I think there's a divine move behind this whole entire thing that's caused a massive awakening in much of the developed world, man. That's where it's going. Globalism is a failure. Absolutely failure. They're sitting right now, as you and I are talking, they're sitting in Davos eating $50 hot dogs and caviar and wondering how they lost this whole entire thing. They don't get it.
You mentioned you think it's a divine thing. I have to tell you though, yeah, globalism, the way that they're doing it sucks. But globalism is the wave of the future when it comes to commerce.
That's what Xi Jinping said in Davos. That's correct. That's what President Xi Jinping
said. But the way they're doing it is whack because they're using central banks to control it.
Correct. 1,000%. And that's the whole New Silk Road BRICS alternative. Okay? When President Xi Jinping showed up in Davos, he said this to the European leaders and the elitists that were from America. He said, your brand of globalism never worked because it never took into account the benefit and welfare of the people. And that is why it is a failure. Globalization is more than just a few people at the top sucking in all the wealth. Globalization is free and fair trade that creates equitable relations with all nations. That's what he said.
That's why I need to segue into some of the things that the people are putting in the chat room, which is perfect of what you just said. Perfect segue. You know what the magnum opus of globalism is?
Define whose brand of
Bitcoin is the magnum opus of globalism. Bitcoin is that one global, one world currency that will unite all the people.
Yeah, and who has control of the blockchain?
I'm glad you mentioned that. See,
because it's not an individual.
I want to really deal with this real quick. Just give me 5 minutes. I gotta deal with this. Yeah. Okay. When you and I'm going to use this to address what's been said in the chat room. Mm-hmm. You guys mentioned Cliff High and the Webbot. You mentioned Peter Schiff and gold. Keep in mind, and Chris Duane, keep in mind those great men that you just mentioned. They're more so, I want to call them analysts or economists, if you will. They're very thoughtful men, very, very brilliant guys. Okay, I take nothing from them. except this: they're not traders. They're long-term investors, long-term holders. That's what they do. Some of them, I would even say, are more so like Peter Schiff is more like a value investor, if you will. All right. I take nothing from these guys. Peter Schiff is the man. Love Peter Schiff, but he's not a trader. Cliff High with his Wetbot, it's an ingenious program that he actually created to trade stocks, and he quickly got away from that because he realized it would not be able to benefit him in that way. It was designed really, without him realizing it, to do what it's doing now, not pick stocks and be able to trade, because he's not a trader. Okay. I'm not dissing any of those guys. Any of the other I won't say talking heads, because that refers to the fake news people on Fox News and the mainstream media. I'm gonna say the panelists and the alternative news. I do not disagree with them as far as their analysis and things of that nature, but they're not traders. So someone wrote, Peter Schiff won't accept Bitcoin. Do you know why he won't come out and tell and back it like he does gold and stuff like that?
Why?
All right. Because he knows everything that I have been telling you about Bitcoin is absolutely 100% correct.
What is it?
If you've seen the US dollar, you've seen Bitcoin. Bitcoin is going to be the new reserve currency. The actual Bitcoin, along with its blockchain technology. You mark my words, it is coming down the pike, and it's going to blow people away when they see it. The government has put that out there. They're going to co-opt it. They're going to use it to control the people. The central banks are going to get a hold of that.
Can't do it, buddy. Can't do it.
No,
that's not even in the code.
Listen to me. I didn't say that.
Hold on.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying they're going to take the Bitcoin and take the blockchain and control it. What I'm saying is they're going to create. They have created their own. They're using the idea. That's what government does. It takes your idea.
You want to know why that'll never work? What? Let me ask you a question. Why do you think JPM spent $600 million trying to create a blockchain alternative to Bitcoin, and it crashed and burned? And they even got the mother of derivatives, Blythe Masters, and Larry the Turd Summers to run it. Why? Why do you think that failed? What makes Bitcoin appealing?
Keep going.
I'm asking. It's a question. What makes Bitcoin so appealing? What is the power of Bitcoin? Explain that to me.
I'm going to say it isn't, because if you've seen Bitcoin, you've seen the dollar. Right now, Bitcoin is down.
I understand you're making a correlation, but a correlation. I get the correlation you're making, and there is some correlation there, but that's not a causation for a global currency or the next thing the central bank.
Okay, let me give you a causation.
Yeah, the question is, what is the power of Bitcoin? I'm
about to show you. Every day in the mainstream media as well as the alternative media, they're blaming some entity outside of the blockchain for the reason that the price of Bitcoin is plummeting. Today, it was Japan. Someone wrote, and I think it was Fox Business, said that in the overnight market, there was massive volume from Japan into the Bitcoin. Right. Now, so see, let me break it down for you guys so you guys can understand what I'm saying. If I speak to you in your jargon, you're not going to get it. So I'm going to step out of the Bitcoin and blockchain arena for a second to break down to you the nature of markets, because that's what I know. I know markets. All right. In the grand scheme of things, compared to you all, I know nothing about Bitcoin and your blockchain, but I know markets and I know exchanges. And Bitcoin and blockchain, no matter what you say, is still an exchange. What is an exchange? An exchange is where you take a buyer and you take a seller and you put them together to make a transaction. Buyer, seller. Prices move by what we call momentum, which is a certain number of buyers versus a certain number of sellers. And what moves the market is if there are more buyers than there are sellers, prices go up. If there are more sellers than there are buyers, prices go down. If it's an equilibrium, prices consolidate and move sideways. That's how that works. So for people to claim that the blockchain is free of these market forces, market dynamics,
okay, you do realize you're defining two different things.
No, it's the same thing. Want to know why?
No,
because
it's not the same thing.
The last 2 days, Fox Business along with Bloomberg came on and said that China, when that first big drop it had, they said China was responsible because they were selling Bitcoin. And then today they say, well, the reason it's down is because Japan was selling the Bitcoin. Again, for something that is supposed to be free of natural market forces, the way the New York Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ is, that is not supposed to be possible. No one entity is supposed to be able to move the market the way it has been moved. So my question to you is, explain how that's not the same as the New York Stock Exchange or the NASDAQ. And I'm waiting. I'll shut up.
The problem here is you're looking at it as a trader. And the issue is this. Are there Bitcoin exchanges set up? Absolutely. In fact, when the Chinese were cracking down on Bitcoin, they weren't cracking on Bitcoin or the blockchain or the technology. They were cracking down on private exchanges that were defrauding customers. That's what's led to the sell-off from China. Same thing occurred in Japan. We've seen, recently what happened about a year or so ago with Mt. Gox. That's what happened in Japan. Okay, now there's two types of Bitcoin things that have emerged. Okay, you have what's called the market side, which are made up of individuals like you who are traders that are looking for leverage, that are looking to make a profit. Okay, irrespective of what is done on what exchange with what group of people and traders in Wall Street who still don't have a full grasp of what Bitcoin truly is, does it affect Bitcoin for what it truly is? A very decentralized, utilitarian way of exchange. In other words, it doesn't matter what an exchange in China does or an exchange in Japan does and how they're dumped their Bitcoin shares to lower the price. It doesn't matter because that guy who's in Venezuela who needs to buy eggs or he needs to buy food because he's ordering it from Amazon and having it shipped directly to Caracas is not going to hinder him. It's not going to hinder those individuals that are in India, in Greece, in Argentina, who get around currency fluctuations and problems with their currency by utilizing Bitcoin and the blockchain. Now, you have about 6.3 billion underbanked and unbanked people in this world. They don't have access to a global economy like we do, but many of them are starting to utilize Bitcoin for the exchange of services and the exchange of and to sell their products, as well as their wares, as well as their commodities. Now, they don't care what these exchanges are doing. If the price is low, they'll buy. If the price is high, they'll sell. They don't care what these exchanges are doing because they are in it because it is a means of survival for them. And so you have two different worlds operating Bitcoin. You have in the developed nations, you have this, utilizing Bitcoin as an exchange. Wall Street's floating Bitcoin alternatives, this, that, and the other. But you get around the people that are at the forefront of Bitcoin. Guys like Roger Ver, who is a friend of mine, who I've interviewed on this show. He's one of the first pioneers of Bitcoin. You get guys like Tone Vays, who's worked for Bear Stearns, worked for Goldman, and he's also on working for Bitcoin. He's no longer with Wall Street, but he's a tech guy. He worked on the IT side of things. And he's, again, on the forefront of, and he understands financial analysis, holds degrees in that. But he's also on the forefront of the blockchain technology. There are two different things that are happening. What is occurring is, yes, what you're saying is absolutely true. But that is a small picture compared to the much larger use case scenario. Today I interviewed Charles Hugh Smith before I interviewed you. And that interview, I think, is going to go up on Saturday, where he's breaking down what's happening in developing worlds utilizing Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. When you study the blockchain, I encourage every single person, study the blockchain, and you will understand why it is the bane of existence to central planners. You'll understand very quickly why it's not something you can just usurp and take control of. You can come out with like for instance, banks, like recently Bank of America wants to come out with a blockchain ledger for honest banking, but nobody's going to utilize it with the same trust. They'll use it, but they're not going to give it the same trust they have to the Bitcoin blockchain. Why? Because the Bitcoin blockchain, my friend, is open source. You can't fudge with the code. There's too many eyes on it. It's like saying, who owns Linux? Nobody.
Okay, question for you, sir.
Yeah.
If I might so humbly ask, why am I down $200 when I purchased my Bitcoin when it hit the high of 1,100? Why am I down $200?
I gave you the answer. It's called, like I said, there's two different aspects to Bitcoin. There is this thing that occurred in the last, few years, a handful of maybe 2 years, 3 years at the most, where you have these Bitcoin exchanges pop off, where would-be investors are willing to take risks, are buying and selling Bitcoin.
But all the exchanges are showing the same price, though.
It doesn't matter. It's the same thing. So they're going to affect the price. Why? Because that exchange is recorded on the ledger. Now there's more Bitcoins.
Wait.
So
hold on. So if there are 10 Bitcoin exchanges, and they all show that Bitcoin is down $100 today, how is that possible if it is free from manipulation?
No one who said it was free from manipulation. Nobody's even said that.
That's what they claim. They claim that the blockchain.
No. The blockchain is free from manipulation. In other words, you can't screw with the blockchain. You can't put in fraudulent transactions. You cannot hack it. But the price of Bitcoin, nobody's stupid enough to say, "Oh, the price of Bitcoin is." Do you see what I'm saying? Nobody's dumb enough to say, "Oh, the price of Bitcoin, you can't manipulate." Of course you can. The whole history of Bitcoin is price manipulation.
Okay, see, we're saying two different things. See, you're talking about you're talking about manipulation of the blockchain. I'm talking about manipulation of price.
Because see, again, this is what I said. You're looking at it from a trader's point of view.
Because at the end of the day, it's about money. It's about price. If you deposit $500 in your bank account, and then tomorrow I tell you only got $50 in your bank account,
there's a serious problem.
Like, we have a problem.
Correct.
That's what happened with your Bitcoin. Your Bitcoin has fallen to more than $200 from its all-time high because the price can be manipulated, which is my point.
Bingo. If you sell enough of it, it can be manipulated. But the beautiful part about Bitcoin,
so how is that different than what we already have with the New York Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ?
When you look at, first of all, you're looking at a Bitcoin as a stock. It's not a stock; it's a currency. When you look at any currency, be it the dollar at its inception, be it the British pound sterling at its inception, every currency has ups and downs. This is not something that's completely abnormal.
How is Bitcoin superior to the U.S. dollar or the euro or the yen?
Oh my God! You seriously want me to answer that question? How is it superior?
Yeah.
It's decentralized. And there's
but
no
the price is still falling, just like the dollar.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
That's what it's all about. At the end of the day, it's about the money.
Because you're looking at it like a trader. You're looking at it like an investor. The majority of people,
zero and the dollar goes to zero, I still lost all my money.
That's an investment risk you took as somebody who's an investor.
Okay.
But the
real quick,
person,
check this out. Hold on. There's a lot of listeners that don't get it, so I just want to say something real quick. We're not arguing, people.
No, we're having a
breaking down the Bitcoin. Also, this is the little funny tongue-in-cheek thing I gave when I said I bought it when it hit its high is a lie. I am flat in the Bitcoin market. I do not own any Bitcoins. We're just having a conversation because I'm trying to paint a picture.
As an example.
And that's what me and V do. We go back and forth and banter, but we're trying to break it down so people can understand who on the outside looking in. So the troll who made the funny crack about saying that I was a whack trader because I bought at the top, you don't know what you're talking about. Come on to the trading room if you really want to see how we get down, and you'll see how many people today pimp these markets and got out with a profit. How much money did you make today? All right, moving along. Finish what you were saying, my man.
No, what you're seeing, you and I are arguing two sides of the same coin. You're looking at it from an investor's point of view, and you're absolutely correct. Okay, I'm looking at it from a utilitarian point of view, from an economic standpoint of view, because what you're saying in terms of price manipulation is absolutely correct. It's true. But eventually, Bitcoin is only capped at 21 million. They can only produce 21 million Bitcoins, and that's it. And we're going to probably reach that number by the year 2030. That's it. And then it kind of you go into a price stabilization mode. But irrespective of what's happening between the price of Bitcoin from its inception, when it was only $4 a Bitcoin, which I should have bought at, and when it went to $230 a Bitcoin, when I should have bought at, to now where it's about $900 a Bitcoin, you know, the difference is it doesn't stop the average Bitcoin user. Bitcoin, see, you can look at price manipulation like, oh, it's a sucky investment. And you're probably right. It's a very risk-averse investment, quote unquote. But if you look at the usage of Bitcoin, it has skyrocketed in terms of use, in terms of buying, in terms of selling, in terms of getting service, in terms of businesses being more and more open to utilizing it. That has skyrocketed, and that will continue to rise irrespective of the price fluctuations. That's just the way it is. You and I are talking about two sides of the same coin.
Okay,
you're looking at it from the investor side. I'm looking from the utility side.
You know, I gotta hit it from the trader perspective. Okay, here we go. Here we go. You and I, we both chilling on the Ave, right? You pull up in your brand new Bentley. You pull up in a red one. I pull up in a green one or
I don't
purple.
like Bentleys.
I'll take purple. Okay.
What do I gotta be the Bentley for?
All right. Well, because you have to. That was the only car they had left on the lot.
All right, fine. I'm pulling up in a green Bentley.
All right, so we chilling, right? No, I said you got the red one. I'll take the red one. All right.
Okay, fine.
So here we go. We chilling, we talking, right? Say how much money we made on Wall Street today, how much money we made buying, selling, and buying gold, right? Mm-hmm. And then you tell me, yo, man, Dex, man, I just made $100,000 in Bitcoin today. Yo, how you do that? Because I bought it when it was at 900, and then it went to 1100. So I'm chilling, and I said, "Oh, okay, that's what's up. You know what? I think I'm gonna try that." Well, yeah, Dex, I think it's gonna go up even more, man. I'm telling you, you need to get in on this. So I go ahead and I buy it at 1100. Now it pulls back to 800. You down $100, but I'm down $300. I'm looking at you like, yo, man, I thought you said the joint was going to continue to go up. What's happening? That's just, this is price fluctuations. You need to you'll be okay. You're going to be okay. Then the next thing I know, it goes down to 500. Now I'm like, yo, man, I can't believe I'm getting hurt like this. I don't understand this. I'm going to have to sell my Bentley now. See what you did to me, V? So in my scenario, at the end of the day, price pays. That's the only thing that matters.
If you are an investor, you're right. Nobody's arguing that.
So but that is my argument. My argument is not about the technology. It's none of that stuff. My argument is about the price, because at the end of the day, the only thing that makes anything superior to a fiat currency is that it maintains its purchasing power. The only way something maintains its purchasing power as a currency is price inflation.
Okay, now I'm gonna hit you from the side of an economist. You ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you want to talk about purchasing power? Okay. Mm-hmm. Now here's the deal. How much purchasing power has the dollar lost?
The dollar, like 90% of its value.
Okay. 98% of its value, right?
Right.
So how do you think Bitcoin has done, even with the price fluctuation? How do you think Bitcoin has done versus the dollar?
Click up. I hung up. I ran away.
Say again?
I said I hung up. I'm not here anymore. I hung up. I ran away.
Oh.
I think that's a TKO. You TKO me.
Exactly.
Oh, you got me. How did I set myself up for that?
Because you look at it like a trader. That's why you and I work well together. You know? Do you get what I'm saying? Dude,
yo, man, I take my hat off. You TKO'd me, man. Oh, my goodness. I didn't see that coming. How did I not see that? Okay, I'm going to blame it on the migraine. I'm going to blame it on the migraine. That was awesome. That was a smooth move, dude. I didn't see it coming. They say the punch that hurts the worst is the one you don't see coming. I did not see that coming, dude. That was tight. My hat off.
Yeah, it's I think if I remember correctly, versus the dollar, it's lost 80% of its value versus the dollar. The dollar's lost 80% of the value versus Bitcoin. So
yeah,
even with
it has.
you know. So again, for the average guy, you look at the village in Africa, right? They have no running water, they have no electricity, but they have a solar panel that's charging a smartphone. And that smartphone is their life. It gives them the market prices of the food stuff that they sell, the farmers stuff that they sell at the market. It gives them the local weather reports, and it allows them to have Bitcoin. So now they can sell their products out there and then get paid in Bitcoin. Zimbabwe is one of the biggest adoption cases in Bitcoin. So irrespective of price fluctuations, bro, it's not going to deter the user of Bitcoin from using Bitcoin. So there's two different mindsets. The investor mindset, yeah, it's too risky, up and down fluctuations. You never know what's going to happen. The utilitarian aspect, I'm going to utilize this because it's the only way for me to provide for my family, because my government's currency I cannot trust. And the freedom aspect, which most people are transacting and saying, hey, this is a great way for me to buy stuff decentralized. I ain't got to worry about losing my privacy. Those are the two things. And that's why Bitcoin marches forward. It's the best infrastructure so far to date, unless something else comes forward and usurps that. The growth is tremendous. In fact, China's doing stuff to defend Bitcoin. They want to utilize Bitcoin on the new Silk Road because it's the best way to get people that are underbanked into the entire global financial system.
Dude, that was the prettiest explanation of the technology that I think I've ever heard.
Thank you, sir.
No, straight up, dude, that was tight. That was mad tight. I hope all the listeners listen to this caught that. That's why I like how we set these things up and do the way we do it, because it is so important that people get what we say. Sometimes, you know, they miss it. And so then I have to come back and deal with the comments later on in the comment section, trying to explain what we were trying to say and blah, blah, blah. So I'm glad that this time around we were able to make it smooth. That was pretty, dude. Someone did make a question in here. What is a trader? In a nutshell, a trader is a complete and utter idiot. I repeat that. At the end of the day, a trader is a complete and utter idiot who knows absolutely nothing of where prices are going. He cannot guess to save his life, his or her life. We love to analyze, we like to project and to prognosticate, but we do not know or have a clue of where the prices are headed. The reason being is because this is not your granddaddy stock market. This is controlled algorithmic processes that determine where the markets are going. So a trader now, the new age trader, is not only a complete idiot, but he's also in the dark if he does not have a way to trade alongside of the algorithmic processes that take place on a daily basis in the commodity futures markets, the forex markets, and the stock market. So what do? As a trader, you are a master of order manipulation, which means that even if you're incorrect on your analysis, you still have the opportunity to make money. We did a webinar the other day on how you can win 100% of the time trading. There is actually a trading system, a mechanism to put on a trade that you can set in regardless of what happens in the market. Even a flash crash can happen and you can still make money, even if you are dead wrong on your direction of the market. We did a live webinar on that, and let me tell you, I blew the minds of everybody in the trading room. And yes, it does exist. We brokers used it a lot for our well-to-do clients that put on very large positions back in the day. And it still works to this day. You just have to have the mechanisms to know how to do it and do it right. In addition to that, from a trading perspective, nowadays what we see going on is not something that you can always quantify. All you know is that it happens, and you know how to take advantage of it and kind of manipulate the price action without actually manipulating the price action. In other words, there's a way for me to enter a position in such a way that I actually get to beat the market and its price fluctuations because of how I'm doing my tickets and how I'm doing my orders. All right. So you got to be a master of order types and things of that nature in order to make it in these markets. In some ways, it's a lot easier to make money in the markets than it was in the past because you know how the algorithms move. So it just is what it is. So hopefully that answers your question. We traders know nothing. I couldn't tell you where the market's going. I have no idea. I can just tell you what the algorithms are suggesting, and then I go with that. So for the most part, if I were just to sit here and tell you where I think price is going, 9 times out of 10, I'll probably be wrong. But then if you look at the spreadsheet, you'll say, how did you make money and you didn't know where the market was going? Well, because we know how to use the order types and trade along with the algorithms. So boom, there it is. Someone just wrote, they believe that basically it's a lot of rhetoric. It's my troll. I have a troll. That means we've made it, V. I have a troll.
Trolls are good things.
Someone actually cares and gives a darn. They're taking time out of their day to be a clown in the live chat.
What do they say?
That's how you know you've made it, when you have one of those, man. I thank you, sir, or ma'am, or whatever you are. Any entry point is risky. Yeah, that's true. You can lose a lot of money trading in the financial markets. I don't care who you are. I don't care how well capitalized you are. You can lose money. You can get your face completely ripped off to the white meat. All right, pulled all the way back to the white meat. If you don't know what you're doing, and even if you do know what you're doing. But the reason why we take these risks is because you can also make an enormous, obscene, ridiculous amount of money. I have people in the trading room today that made more money in the first 20 minutes of the day than most people will make all day. So understand that. That's what this is about, trading. And yeah, I got people in the trading room that trade Bitcoin too, because guess what? We cover that too. In our trading room, I can only speak on my trading room. On my trading room, we cover every security on every exchange on every continent where there is an exchange. Stocks, Forex, and futures. I don't know anyone else that can do that. I don't know anybody else that has that kind of sophisticated, robust, systematic way of tracking the markets. That's just how we roll. So if you got something better, more power to you, but I doubt it. Yeah. Next question. Man, I love these trading Terradomes with you, V.
No, it's always fun, bro.
Did we cover what we wanted to cover? Or did I miss something? Or did you have a question for me that you made?
I think we covered everything, man. You go ahead and answer one more question, then we'll close out.
All right. Does anyone else have any questions? I'm looking. I don't see none. So I guess we've quieted down now. Unless my troll wants to ask me a question. Okay. It is what it is. Dude, maybe you can answer. I got a question for you, V.
What's up?
Why do people hate me so much, man? Why?
I don't know, man.
I just have different opinions and thoughts. That's all.
Hey, man. All I know is, that old line, haters gonna hate. It is what it is.
He said it is what it is.
It is what it is, bro. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you made it when they start making lies about you. That's how you know you made it.
Oh, okay. Question. Here it is. Plunge protection team. I don't see the plunge protection team going nowhere. Nowhere, ever. I'll tell you why. The plunge protection team is kind of morphed over the years. It used to be they would just prop up the markets intraday, especially back in the 90s, because they were creating the new blockchain type technology.
Oh, stop it.
They were putting together Globex and other order routing systems, and the NASDAQ getting kicked off and all that stuff. So that's why. So I don't think they're going anywhere anytime soon, because they have to do continuity of government per se, continuity of markets. So if something bad happens in the market, their job is to keep it up and running even after they close the markets and reopen them. Their job is to make sure that order flow is there. All right, so hopefully that answers your question. Do you believe in Antarctica stuff? Depends on what Antarctica stuff you're talking about. If you're referring to, do I believe that Antarctica was possibly the resting spot of Atlantis, possibly, yeah. It's a good possibility. Because see, what happened was back in the day, during the antediluvian periods, remember the Earth was different. Back during that time, our climate, everything about the planet was way different. So if you remember going back to the book of Genesis, right after Adam and Eve got kicked out of the garden, you see that it did not rain on the earth in those days. We had a different type of topography. And what happened was, not long after that period, after the replenishing of the earth, after the great flood, then the earth was remade and reshaped, and the climate changed. No longer did lifespans go into the 900 years of age, but got cut down to about 70 years on average. So the landscape changed. So back then, the North and South Pole wasn't covered by ice the way it is now. As a matter of fact, they were quite tropical. The entire planet was tropical because the average temperature of the planet was like 75, 80 degrees all year round. And it was one big landmass because the flood had not yet come. And in addition to that, we didn't have the great earthquake that separated some of the continents too and gave us the islands that we have now. So is it possible? Yeah, they're finding new things out all the time. I mean, I just saw some documentary, I think it was on YouTube, and it was showing how they saw like some kind of plant life or something buried deep under the ice and stuff like that. So it's obvious that there was a great cataclysm that happened instantaneously. That's why you got some things buried in the ice. It's like Pompeii. You had people buried under the ash like they were like frozen, like they were caught, slipping for a split second, and boom, they're forever posterized. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's possible. Now, as far as the thing about the underground alien bases in Antarctica, I've heard testimony. I've seen some evidences to support that. So that could be possible too. But my take, if you never heard my perspective on the whole alien thing, I do not believe that there are corporeal beings in outer space. I believe that there are non-corporeal beings, disembodied spirits. I believe they're fallen angels and demonic forces that masquerade and pretend to be aliens coming from faraway planets. There is never, ever, not even a shred of evidence of a flying saucer traveling, getting caught on radar, approaching the planet, coming into our atmosphere, and landing on the White House lawn. Because every time they've ever seen a UFO, it always just appeared out of nowhere. One moment, the radar is clean. The next moment, oh, here's some UFOs. And then they would disappear just as quickly as they appeared. All right? And you never see them leaving the planet and going back and coming to the planet like that. No, you don't. However, there is footage from NASA dating back to the first moon voyages from the late 60s, early 70s, whatever, showing actual saucers, if you will, flying, or other intelligences alive, moving about through outer space and around the moon. And they look like sponges type things, spherical things. And there you can see them pulsating and stuff. And some of them are zipping through space and moving at 90-degree angles, traveling at speeds in excess of 10,000 miles an hour. Yeah, it's incredible things of that nature. So yeah, there's a lot of information, and it all goes back to, like I said, Antarctica and things of that nature. So yeah, that is my take on that, based on my own research, and I've done a lot of research into the whole UFO phenomenon and things of that nature. Monday, I'll probably do a documentary series on it to match the one I did on There Is No Collapse. All right, so that's about it on that. Anybody else with a question?
Well, we're about the end of the broadcast, man. Why don't you give out your plug, your site, and how people can reach you, bro?
All right, I can be reached at pulsewavetrading.com. That's pulsewavetrading.com. And on YouTube, I am the AlgoCapitalist. And right now, we're still running the same special that if you sign up for the weekly Pulse Wave price triggers, you gain free access to the Learning Academy. If you have not already signed up, you're probably going to want to do so ASAP, because today we're going to be doing another webinar, and this webinar is going to be on gold and trading the momentum price trigger. Yes, how to trade the momentum price trigger to determine what the market bias is in any market before the market's even open for the day. Remember how I told you that you can't determine anything? You don't know nothing about the price action and where it may be going? Well, that's true, but the algos know everything. They know all things, and you will learn how to use that.
And with that being said, folks, I am the illustrious Ape, joined by the one and only AlgoCapitalist, the man formerly known as the Vulcan, Dex. And we'll be here same bat time, same bat channel to tear it up once again. What a great broadcast, bro, huh?
Outstanding, bro. It always is.
Little politics, you get some economics, you get some crypto, you get some trading advice, you get some ancient civilization, and we finish off with some extraterrestrialism and demonology. I mean, what more do you want? Wow, we need to retitle this show from the Trading Dome. It's got to be something else. Let's call it the Terrordome. Who knows?
You know, my thing is give the people what they want. I believe in answering questions in the chat room. What's the chat room for if you're going to ignore everyone and not answer any questions?
Exactly. True story, bro. All right, guys. Thank you so much all for joining us, and we'll be back here next week. Take care of yourselves. Enjoy your weekends. And Dex, give it a shout out, man. Say you're being encouraging.
You know it will. Peace.